I think about temperance as being the enabling virtue for the rest of your financial life.
In the lack of temperance, we just subject ourselves to an element of wanting everything and not really having rational reason to it.
Temperance is a beautiful thing because it enables you to be all the more free. It enables you fundamentally to give yourself so much more to be able to serve people more and more because you're not so obsessed with me. Welcome to the Ordered Life podcast, where we talk about how to integrate the virtues into our life and our finances. My name is Anthony Delazari, Administrative Assistant.
Sean Gregory, Portfolio Manager.
AJ Sanson, Associate Investment Advisor.
We're with Serving Capital at iPrivate Wealth, and our goal is to serve you so that your finances may serve your goals and your goals may serve the good.
I wrote notes this time.
We got notes.
I got notes. So I was like, I need to have some better contribution. So give me a moment to
refresh.
Yes. To get in the zone.
All right. Well, when we left off last time, obviously we were talking about the importance of raising kids and temperance, but should we start off with a blanket definition of temperance then?
Yeah, let's do that.
All right. Temperance will loosely define as the virtue that helps individuals regulate their desires and pleasures, keeping them in proper balance. Temperance ensures that our natural appetites are used in ways that contribute to our overall well-being and moral growth. So it's not about denying, but it's about fundamentally liberating us and helping us to be more free because we're not bound by our desires.
Well, I froze because I had 5 directions I wanted to go and I couldn't pick which one.
Which one are you favoring?
Yeah.
But let's hear your thoughts.
Oh, well, okay. I was going to say, what typically comes to mind when we think of temperance?
I think of have you guys ever been to Olive Garden?
Yeah.
Once.
Okay, once. So you go to Olive Garden, you order your food, but then breadsticks and and salad is coming and soup, and it's an unlimited basis. And you got to practice temperance is because this is available now. So I'm just going to consume this now. And what your original intent was to have the main meal, you've just overstuffed yourself on this other stuff that was just filler and not actually have the main meal. So I think of that, I guess in the context of eating, is just to be gluttonous as to the things that aren't really good for you because they're just available and easy, as opposed to kind of balance it up. Okay, yes, have a little bit of the salad, have a little bit of the soup. And I'm guilty because it's typically just soup or the salad and breadsticks. So,
but if you plan it right with a big enough family,
you could. So that's exactly the strategy.
No, my parents loved the Olive Garden because we could get lots of.
So I just think of that funny analogy is because that's an opportunity to practice temperance, or at least I'm thinking from the context of our little kids. Yeah, it's very easy to indulge in what was meant to be the amuse-bouche to the main meal. If I were able to use amuse-bouche for the Olive Garden.
So I think properly understood, temperance speaks really specifically about those fleshly desires, right? Like food that tastes good and material that feels nice and that kind of thing. And being able to control yourself with that. Yeah. But my mind always makes that step to relating it back to the world of finance. And so I think about temperance as being the enabling virtue for the rest of your financial life. Yeah. Because all of those things, they tend to be very expensive. Fine wines, fine foods, luxurious furniture and vehicles and whatever. If you have zero temperance, you probably have zero money left over through which to practice justice and prudence and take those next steps. Yeah. So temperance, I think of the virtue doesn't specifically speak to how you use your money. I think there is a natural fallout there. Yeah, cool. Yeah, you have to regulate your appetite, and if your appetite is just for material things that go unhinged, then all of your money is going to be spent. It's like when we were going over the SNAP projections, and that's one of the softwares that we use for financial planning, it makes the assumption that you're going to have your expenses, you'll have your income, but then anything between expenses and income, whatever's left over, they don't assume goes into savings. The software assumes that you spend all of that, which is really interesting. So it's obviously not a very healthy way to go about dealing with your finances. It's like, these are things that I have to spend on. This is all that I have money on. And I guess from our last podcast talking about justice, there's that point between I want something and I can't afford it, therefore I can't have it. And I want something and I can't afford it, therefore I'm going to buy it. Temperance is that virtue fundamentally that says, well, why do I want it? Do I need it? Is this actually a good thing to desire? Am I truly going to be happy with this material thing? Because if I'm using this thing for happiness, again, it kind of goes back to why serve him. I don't think I don't think that's quite it, though.
No.
So I think temperance is more about distinguishing by degree, not by kind. Does that make sense?
No.
Like, it's not temperance that says this is good for me or not good for me.
Yeah.
But how much of this thing is the right amount.
Yes, I'd agree.
So too much of a good thing obviously can be bad.
Yes.
Or not enough of a good thing.
Yeah.
So I don't think this is specifically the virtue itself, but the knock-on that I think of with temperance is this idea of being measured and being moderate. And it doesn't always have to be with like physical things that taste good and feel good, but you can take that, how we apply temperance to those things, and I think you can extrapolate it to
100%.
other areas of our life too. But I'll let you finish your thought because I think I totally cut you off.
No, I think that's a good point. Like, again, you have this middle way, this balance spot where you need to be able to use the virtue of temperance to say, well, how much, why do I want this? I think is what temperance, well, it's more prudence that enables us to say, like, why do I want this, to get into like the rationality of it. But temperance is that virtue that actually enables us to detach ourselves from that desire, fundamentally to the end of being more liberated. Because if I don't have control of my desires, if my desires, which I don't have full control over, just immediately determine my course of action, then I'm not all that free. Because freedom isn't the ability to act on my desires, as many libertarian philosophers will say. Freedom is the ability to actualize the good. And if we're trying to actualize the good, we can't just be spending money in ways that is determined by our desires.
Yeah, well, it's like you're walking the right path.
Yeah.
And there are all of these exits, there are all of these paths that you could fall off of the correct course with. And your ability to control yourself, to have self-control, keeps you on that straight path. It keeps you from eating that entire tub of ice cream.
Yeah.
Or eating that other tub of ice cream. I can't think of any other examples right now.
No, I think food is one of the easiest ones. Yeah. I once heard a story about a lady. She baked a cake, and then just beautiful cake, and she thought it was so beautiful that she ate the whole thing, and then she's like, "Oh shoot, now I have to make another one." So she made another cake for, I guess, the people that she was entertaining. She's like, "Oh, I'll just have a slice of it," and then she's like, "Oh well, I can't serve a cake that has just a slice of it." So she ate the whole thing and had to make a third cake.
Well, food is the perfect training ground for temperance because you can't just not eat.
Yeah.
You have to eat, but you have to eat in the correct measure, the correct amount.
Yeah.
Whereas other things, you could just avoid them completely, and then you're never even tempted to intemperance, and then it's easy. But food's a tough one.
Yeah.
I think of also temperance in the context of our consumer type of environment. In the lack of temperance, we just subject ourselves to an element of wanting everything and not really having rational reason to it. We're succumbing to our passions of this is what I want, this is I want, almost like a childish response to everything.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't really care. I just want to consume it. I just want to have that extra piece of cake or two cakes or whatever it may be. Versus with temperance, again, as you mentioned, is that element of balance and reason. What's the appropriate amount to it? And so the appropriate amount.
I just realized, and this is not just a conversation about food, but limiting yourself in those things that do taste good, but forcing yourself to eat those things that are good for you that you don't like.
Yeah.
Like going both ways.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, even when it comes to material things that we want, right? Like you can have somebody who works extremely hard, which is good. But if they're working for material ends and that makes them take time away from their friends, time away from their family, then that lack of temperance is actually leading to injustice to the people who they should be caring about most.
Yeah. And so here's where I started thinking about the other ways we can apply temperance. So that's a perfect one.
Yeah.
How much time do you devote to your work? Because, okay, work is good. You should go to work. You need to go to work.
Yeah.
But
there's value in work too. Like I think people, because we have this mindset of use, of I use things, let my desires go unchecked for whatever it is that I'm buying. Because we have that mindset, we reduce work to just a means of getting money, right? Time is money because I can spend time on work, and then people don't realize like the importance and the dignified value of work. Because it's a beautiful thing when you enjoy what you do.
Yeah. Well, and so here's where the problem comes for me in exercising the virtue, is that I enjoy the work perhaps too much.
Yeah.
And so I will be reading research reports at home and company documents and whatever, not because I'm paid by the hour, which we're not, but because I find it so interesting.
Yeah.
And I have to exercise the virtue of temperance to control myself.
Yeah.
to make sure I'm not putting too much time and effort into this, that I'm justly giving my time to these other areas of my life, like my children who need me and deserve my time. So that's one area I think also of temperance.
Yeah. And same thing like with working well, right? Because usually if we're not working, it is because, well, I'm too attached to some material thing that I want to get because of this. I'm just trading my time for money so I can buy something.
I always like the context of work is we do the work, we love the work that we do is because we're good at it. Yeah. It's our natural aptitudes, our natural talents at the service of others. So I think of, yes, it's very easy to get caught up in our work is because we love it so much. I find that same thing with my day. It's like, oh, wow, it's already 3:00. I didn't realize that time passed so quickly. And we do it out of an act of love for others and those that we serve as our clients. But also is finding the balance as to what's also just for our families is because we work to provide for our families as well. And so to not forget about that balance, that temperance in terms of our work and family lives.
So other ways I think about how we can use temperance or properly or improperly is in the financial advice that we give and the investment advice that we give. So there are opportunities for us to be temperate or intemperate. And the one that jumps to mind is there is some new idea, some potential company for investment, wherever it is, and go through the numbers and it just makes so much sense. And you just think this is the best idea. You can't go wrong. Or, like the probability of it not working out is so low. And you're tempted to allocate of a portfolio a very significant amount.
Or it can make you or break you because it's so significant.
Right. And you need to control that. To control how you implement your ideas, how excited you get about your own ideas, because at the end of the day, you could still always be wrong about anything. So that this idea of moderation, self-control, structure, I think about this all the time, about how we can implement the virtue properly in how we give advice, specifically investment advice.
Yeah, speaking of the investment advice and obviously forward returns, how does patience fit in with temperance? Because the best definition that I've ever heard of patience is recognizing that if you're impatient, it's because you're in a state that you don't want to be in. So the virtue of patience enables you to understand and appreciate why you don't have something or why you have certain things and appreciate those things more. So you kind of detach yourself from this future idea of, oh, I'm going to be more happier with that thing. I'm going to be more happy once this person does that. It's like, no, be patient, appreciate where you're at. There's a reason for where you're at.
I think patience really revolves around time.
Yeah.
And our time and what is a reasonable time. So I think if we don't practice temperance, again, I want it now, I want it now, I want it now.
Instant gratification. Yeah.
Versus the temperance is like, hey, and a balance with right reason is like, this is a good decision. I know there's an anticipation in which it should be reach its appropriate valuation. I don't know exactly the time is, but I'm going to wait it out because it's still a good decision.
Yeah.
And I guess also establishing what the parameter is of what that element of time should be in which to expect a reasonable return.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that, Sean?
I can't get around the fact that I think patience is not related to temperance.
Really?
Yeah, I think it's related.
You're so contrary.
I'm sorry. Either prudence or justice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think, can you flesh that out?
Yeah. So giving something an appropriate amount of time to work or to wait for, like an idea, I think it comes to your initial analysis, right? That prudent, taking that full scope look, that comprehensive, detailed analysis of whatever it is. It could be a financial plan. It could be a potential investment. And knowing ahead of time an approximate timeline of how long this should or should not take, right? There is a mistake of waiting too long, and there's a mistake of not waiting long enough. But I think that when you fail in patience, you've failed that initial right reason and right action. So I think that is being imprudent when you're being impatient.
It's fair.
Or I think you could also even relate it to justice, to say that this is something good, this is something right, and this will take time, right? It is just to give this the time it deserves
Thomas Aquinas doesn't agree with you.
No? What does he say?
He says it's part of fortude. Because patience
fortitude.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what?
Yeah.
I agree. I agree with the master.
Yeah, well, because, so, where would this be?
Yeah, well, because it's hard, right?
Patience is the ability to endure something difficult.
Yes.
You have the ability to endure something difficult, and as endurance is part of fortitude, because fortitude has two parts, courage and endurance. Courage to start, endurance to see it through.
Look, I am grasping at straws, and Thomas Aquinas is just handing them out to us as he decides he wants to.
It says patience is a quasi-potential part of fortitude because it is annexed thereto as secondary principle virtue, for it belongs to patience.
Yeah, and that totally
suffer.
makes sense because, like, even going back to my example of prudence, right? Like, you've decided this is prudent, but something along the way is trying to like deviate you from that prudent path. It could be the time it takes. Right, and you have to have the courage to endure it, to get through it, to pursue prudence properly. So, 100%, I agree with Thomas Aquinas.
Yeah.
It's funny how the impatience also revolves around pride too. It's because I want it to happen now because this is my timeline, as opposed to a reasonable timeline.
Yeah, and kind of temptation to like want control. Like I want control. I want to determine myself, as opposed to serving.
Which comes back to temperance is that. As opposed to succumbing to our passions, our desires, our instincts, it's coming back, well, let's use our intellect.
Yeah. But also I think there's a place for understanding like where those passions and desires come from. Because at the root of it, we hope
it's good.
They're good.
Yes.
Right? Yeah, they are. Like all things are good. So if we have this idea, there's good at the root, what's being twisted, disordered here, and then being able to use a virtue to overcome the disorder as opposed to the good desire itself, right? To channel that good desire to its natural end as opposed to letting it become a disordered desire and fall into vice.
So what are your thoughts on when someone is having trouble living out the virtue of temperance? Questions they can ask themselves, or methods, strategies they can take to help walk that path of temperance. And it could be as it relates to like physical things or other things.
Well, when I see like symptoms of a lack of temperance, I think people who rely on like short-lived experiences to give them a sense of purpose. I've gone through phases of my life with this. Overindulging in food or drink, or definitely not being able to say no to things that you end up regretting on a pretty constant basis. You have to pick one area. You can't hit all of it at once because you're going to bring yourself out. These are bad habits that you've accumulated. If a virtue is a habitual disposition to do good, a vice, which if you're lacking temperance, is what you are probably struggling with, and obviously all of us here at this table have our vices. You got to pick one area. If it's with food, okay, maybe I have 3 donuts a day, going to cut that down to 1. That, I think, is where you have to start, and rock that for a week, see how it is. And the part of that is like get somebody to keep you accountable. Write it down somewhere, or tell a friend, hey, I'm trying to be more disciplined in this area. I'm trying to detach myself from whatever it is. For a lot of people in my generation, it's the phones. A lot of my friends either delete social media altogether, or they have somebody put a time limit on it using like the screen time app if you have an iPhone, and then through that built-in accountability. So you almost and I think that part of that is temperance too. Like if you recognize, hey, I'm at a place where I cannot control myself and I literally need somebody to lock me out of this situation, so I'm not just going to doom scroll for 3 hours at a time, then that is probably a prudent decision to make that helps you with temperance a little bit.
Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say the difficulty I think about with the virtue is if you think like beginner level temperance is sort of where you're just white knuckling it, right?
Oh, 100%. It's going to be
just
challenging.
pure grit.
Pure grit. Like I'm not going to buy donuts because if I buy donuts, I'm going to eat them all. But how do you get to that like level 11, that master level
Patience.
of temperance?
Fortitude.
But where you just don't even want them.
Yeah. It takes
where
time.
You free yourself from even the desire.
Detachment from donuts?
From personal experience, it takes so much time. And it's not going to be a permanent thing. If you have an expectation that's going to be a permanent thing, it's not going to be the case. Like you're always going to be coming back to things that you need temperance for. And you're going to notice like different little mini habits that come up and different little things. It's like, oh, that donut does look really good. That smell, I want it. You know what I mean? And then, but yeah, you just have to be patient with yourself. You have to have faith. You have to have trust that it's going to work out in the long run, that there's going to be some return in the future. And usually developing these virtues, if you have struggles with it, well, good, because obviously these things aren't easy. But if you have struggles with it, it's going to help you in the future. And it's also going to be a way of you helping others. Because chances are, like, we're all human. We all have these struggles. So if somebody else comes up to you, like a good friend or family member, and they're like, hey, I'm struggling with this. It's like, hey, yeah, no, I definitely have too. We should stop having donuts.
I think there are practical ways that a person can help themselves live out the virtue of temperance. And I think of it as adding structure to your life.
Yeah.
So if someone is guilty of overspending consistently or frequently, there are strategies to implement where you walk around with a limited number of cash.
Yeah.
So you can't spend more than this.
Yeah.
Or like in my example about putting together an investment portfolio, that temptation to add far too much to one idea. Well, we have position limits. So even if I'm tempted to do it, we have rules against that. So there's a structure in place that kind of forces us or pushes us towards that path of temperance. But before I think you can even get to there, it's that step one of Alcoholics Anonymous where you have to admit you have a problem.
Yeah.
Before you can even
make progress towards.
Yeah. Correct yourself at all. So know thyself, I think, is the most important thing about temperance.
Yeah.
Being able to recognize where you are falling consistently into mistakes or intemperance or whatever it is. And then you can start to think about those ways that you can correct it through your own grit, white knuckling it, but also helping yourself walk along that path with these little tricks and structure that you can add to your life.
Yeah. And again, I think we should definitely highlight the fact that temperance is a beautiful thing because it enables you to be all the more free. You're not just kind of led into these things that, I feel like doing it, therefore I'm going to do it. It's like, no. I feel like doing it and I've done it and I just regret it, right? My life is not in the place where I want it to be because I've had a lack of temperance. So temperance is a very, very, very beautiful thing because it enables you fundamentally to give yourself so much more to be able to serve people more and more because you're not so obsessed with me.
I can't help but think of the consumerism culture that we're in. Because essentially, if you don't practice temperance, if it's about me, I want, then you become a slave.
100%.
To all these material things. And if you think of it as in most extreme form, is now you're a slave of all your creditors that you've overspended the money that you didn't have.
Yeah, and especially here in Canada.
And now you're even more of a slave. And then the madness that would ensue as a result of succumbing to this instinctual spending behavior.
Yeah. Or you're a slave to your desires. Like, you're free to eat as much as you want in the world, but at a certain point, you are no longer in control.
Yeah.
Do you know what's odd with my children, watching them grow, is that I have this theory that children are born with zero virtue, and you have to cultivate it over time. But one exception to that is maybe temperance, because I've never made the children finish their plates of food.
Really?
I say, when you're done, stop eating. And they can control themselves really well. The number of half-eaten ice cream cones even that they hand back to me, it's almost every time.
Well, it's just for you to get more ice cream from the sounds of it.
Yeah, that's usually the dad response. Oh, I have more ice cream now.
I see, I've been out.
And I've justified it.
But whereas myself, I grew up and, my parents always told me, finish your plate, finish your food.
You're not alone, Sean.
I have overridden that mechanism my body's telling me to stop. And now, I don't even notice when I get full. I'm just going to eat. Well, and it's kind of like what you're saying.
But isn't that the context too? The reason why our families perhaps made us finish our plate is because it's an attribution to money. You're wasting money if you don't eat it.
Yeah, no, that's true.
Right?
I was even talking with one of my friends. His family grew up in Russia, very poor, but his grandma would always force food into her children and her grandchildren. Because it was you need to get fat because we don't know when we're going to have food. Mm-hmm. That's probably a bit of a different part discussion.
Because probably the grandmother's experience in which having nothing at all.
Yeah. It's why save up? Why have food in the background? It's have it now because you don't know when we're not going to have food.
And imagine if you come from the background of not being deprived of things.
Yeah, culturally it's a big
easily to go to the temptation is now that I have something, I need to overspend it because to make up for that time that I didn't have.
Well, those experiences can be so scarring that they stay with you your whole life. So that even if you're no longer in this context of we never know when our next meal is going to come, you are still going to be thinking that way.
Yeah, but I think we're pretty lucky here because of the socioeconomic position that we're in. We have more opportunity than ever to practice these virtues. That also means there's more opportunities than ever to fall into vices. But hey, if we're trying to be the best version of ourselves, we want every single practice, every single game that we can play into to hone in these skills. So it's cool to be around at this point of history.
So I'm coming back to, I think, something you mentioned earlier, Sean, as to how to practice temperance. I think the exercise of having another person to provide objectivity for individuals to better practice temperance. Because otherwise, if left to ourselves, we can succumb to our passions, our instincts. But having conversation with us, being more objective and outside of the scenario, can provide a little more rational
these things,
reason.
They become habits, spending habits, eating habits. Like they just become ingrained in your way of living. And so that even, you could have an individual where it's obviously can be more difficult to recognize that in yourself. But even families, where the family's fallen into a habit and they don't see this spending problem or whatever it is. So bringing in, like, especially when it becomes a severe problem, you really need to bring in someone with an outside perspective.
And also, too, we can't be with our clients all the time to, for lack of a better term, check them on a regular basis. And even then, I don't want to have to check everyone on, hey, did you make the right decision? Like, people have their own freedom as to how they use their financial resources. But what perhaps can also help, too, is just being aware of your personal spending, a budget of sorts, and set parameters as to what should be allocated to which particular category for entertainment, for eating out, for groceries. Just awareness, I think, is more important as opposed to like hitting the hard, definitive boundaries of that.
Yeah.
We should have a whole podcast episode on budgeting and my complete disagreement with the practice 100% wholesale.
Yeah. I like budgets retroactively. I'll review my credit cards for a year's
and that's
round,
exactly it.
And then I'll know, okay,
tracking is more...
Yes, the tracking and the awareness.
Yeah.
Because at least you have the opportunity to have information to better assess the circumstance.
But trying to get super rigid about forward-looking stuff, you don't know what's going to happen.
Well, life change, month to month is different.
Exactly,
prices change, things change.
You get invited to weddings. You have like a friend's big birthday party.
My kids need new braces or anything of that sort.
Yeah. You have to know. Sorry, Sean, were you going to say something there?
No, he said braces, and I died a little because. Like, I pay a lot for braces right now.
Yeah, that makes sense. There was something else I was going to say when you were talking about temperance and planning.
Okay.
But I forget exactly what it was, and I think it might have been the budget point about having a budget that you look back at retroactively helps you know, hey, I've spent a lot.
I think like in the absence of bringing in an outside person, like the numbers don't lie. When you track your own expenses, if you don't realize where you're spending a lot of money and you add it up over the last month or 3 months, you will see it.
And there's an element too, is like your behavior has led to these numbers. So there's a closer proximity to basically take accountability for.
Yes. But now I remember the point that I really wanted to make. I think temperance becomes a lot easier, Sean, back to your point, like how do we start practicing temperance? When we have a good reason to, when we have good goals and a good purpose. And I think for you guys helping me with my financial planning and understanding stuff is being able to see how much closer my goals can be if I pull back on spending. For a lot of people, especially here in Vancouver, where it's an extremely expensive city, people can probably be very daunted by the cost of living and all these things, and they think, oh well, carpe diem, like I'll just like seize the day, live for today.
YOLO.
Because 100%. Because it's easy and it's daunting to actually want to have such a great goal to be able to afford property, be able to do all these things. But being able to have those goals put into perspective, saying, okay, here's the number that you have to be able to make. Here's where you're currently at. This is how returns can help. This is where spending can probably help you out, whatever it is. Being able to have a good goal is going to help you with that temperance, which again, from the general conversation about the virtues, if your goal is to be the best version of yourself, virtues is a means of getting there. So temperance becomes a fantastic tool. It's good.
Yeah. Well, and to your point that spending is such a powerful tool because it's something that is very much in your control. Not 100%. Like there are lots of expenses you have to make and you have no control over. But unlike investment returns, which are volatile, they're unpredictable. Yeah, they're great when they work well, but you can't rely on them. Like what you spend or don't spend money on, you have the most influence over.
Yeah.
And especially for a younger person or for a person with a relatively lower amount of savings, like you can have great investment returns. Yeah, initially, I'm at those initial levels. Investment returns on a small dollar amount don't contribute a ton. But your ability to control yourself, to not spend and add that to your savings is like proportionally very powerful.
The discipline is where the ultimate value is, because it continues into the later years when your earning potential increases dramatically.
Yeah, and then you do have savings, and then those investment returns are very significant. And at some point, it crosses over so that those returns are contributing much more than you can from your cash flow.
Yeah.
But to get to that point, you had to have that self-control initially. But like the good news is, it's something that is not totally, to a large degree, is very much in your control.
Yeah, and I'm definitely going to watch the numbers, but when people do these return analyses, whatever you want to call it, it's the story about the person who saves from the time that they're 20 until 30, like whatever dollar amount per year, is going to fare better than the person who saves from 30 to 65, because they had that early time to save, and then they're able to let their returns compound over time, as opposed to having to play catch up later on in life. Like the time value of money of saving in your 20s is massive.
Time and discipline.
Yeah.
Have we left anything out of temperance?
I think that's pretty comprehensive.
What are we talking about next time?
Oh, we've covered all the virtues.
Now we can deep dive on these sub-virtues.
Yeah.
No, I think liberality.
Liberality?
Is the next one.
Oh, that's a good one. And magnificence.
Magnificence, humility.
Yeah, and
Also,
magnanimity.
Oh, magnanimity. Big word, big M word.
I love magnanimity. Yeah. All right. Well, yeah, we got lots more on the podcast for you guys, so keep on coming back. Thank you for listening. I'm Anthony.
I'm Sean.
I'm AJ.
See you next time.
This podcast has been prepared by Sean Gregory, who is a portfolio manager, and AJ Sanson, who is an associate investment advisor for IA Private Wealth Inc. Opinions expressed in this podcast are those of the portfolio manager and investment advisor only and do not necessarily reflect those of IA Private Wealth Inc. IA Private Wealth Inc. is a member of the Canadian Investor Protection Fund and the Canadian Investment Regulatory Organization. IA Private Wealth is a trademark and business name under which IA Private Wealth Inc. operates.